Hello YouTube, this is Hunter Surge of the Brawler Cafe, and since I've been snacking on these, we are going to be going full force on belting out all of these faction ability card analyses before the end of the week. So first up, we have Chaos. So let's dive right in. So the awesome rares have not been fantastic for, well, Absorb was fantastic, but what the heck even was the darkest one? I can't remember what the darkest one is, but it's probably something bad. Regardless, for Chaos we have Wax. Wax is one of the strongest cards in the game. Wax is 6 cost, pop all enemy evos. This card is ludicrously strong. Like, so many decks that focus around a boss card are around their Evo. And now that Shadow Strike, the initial incorrect rulings about Shadow Strike are gone, you can't protect the Evos in any way, except for trying to nullify Wax. So this is a real scary thing for your Titan Dragonoid deck, for your Titanilius deck, Chaos Titanilius I should specify, for your Hyper Serpentine deck, and that doesn't even mention all of the high cost Evos that are much worse than those. This is one of the best cards. This is actually the best card in Chaos's arsenal. And this is part of what makes Titanilius so strong, because not only does it have all the strength of Titanilius, it's in a faction that automatically gives it access to Wax. It's just super good. Yeah, I always run 2 of this, at least if my deck has access to Chaos. Moving on to SRs. First, we have Bodyguard. This is not fantastic. If we assume that Frost Strike is like worth 1 energy, which is what other cards would lead us to believe, maybe, or maybe it's worth as much as damage. Even if we assume that, this really isn't giving us the value we want, and like there aren't a whole lot of good Bakon that have natural Shadow Strike to get more damage out of this. And like, okay, so like let's say, so the one with the most is Hyper Serpentine, Hyper Aqua Serpentine. That has 3 Frost Strikes. So if we use this on that, we get 1 additional Frost Strike and then 4 damage, which is just barely hitting what you expect out of 2 energy. So it's not giving you the value that you should be expecting out of a 2-cost card, even in the best case scenario, and that's using one of the worst Bakon. Now the next SR is Cute Apocalypse, and this one is really good. Cute Apocalypse is another just super strong card. 4 cost, plus 500B, and then if you're in Domination, you draw 3. So the second part is the main good thing about this card, but the fact that it's also attached to a plus 500B makes this card versatile and makes it well worth that cost. It's one of those few cards that's actually worth the 4 cost. The only things in the game that I think are really worth the 4 energy cost that's on them, actions at least, is this, Absorb, and Wax. It's all in Aquas and Chaos. But yeah, this card is real nice, real good card, very good for replenishing resources, especially if you don't have Aquas in your particular deck. Revitalize, this is 3 cost plus 4 damage for each hero you have in play. Not fantastic. This is 3 cost plus 4 damage for having 1 hero in play. And then it goes up to 3 cost plus 8, which is more worth. But, like, there are much better benefits you can be getting out of having those heroes in play. And if you have that, if you're running a hero-based deck, you probably have a damage-boosting hero anyways. So this card is just kind of a waste of a slot. Sky's Hymn is the other really good Chaos SR. It's 1 cost. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put them back on top in any order. And then Domination, if your Bakon hold the most Bakon cards, you draw a card. A very fantastic card. For those who play Buddy Fight, this is basically Daryl Burke. For those who play Yu-Gi-Oh, this is Pot of Duality without any restrictions on what you can do. It's just all around a really fantastic card. Very low cost. Synergizes very well with Dan if you're running Chaos in your Titan Drago deck. Helps you get to your key Evo pieces like Titanilius if you're running in that sort of deck. It just helps you dig. Helps you set up flips if you think that's coming. Just in general, fantastic card. Consort is also one of the best cards in Chaos's arsenal. 3 cost, attach a Bakugan from the field to an open Bakugan. This will allow you to make sure that your Bakugan get their core bonuses. However, my one issue with Consort is I don't actually think it's worth if the bonuses if you're running like a Fist or a Flaming Fist deck, I don't think Consort is actually worth. And if your deck isn't built around core bonuses, I don't think it's really all that worth there either. Unless you happen to have like Magic Shields or Helixes on your team. If you have Magic Shields or Helixes on your team, you can easily get plus 500 to plus 650, which is expected value for 3 cost. But otherwise, you actually tend to be getting less value than you normally would out of a 3 cost. And that makes me a bit iffy on the card in those scenarios. However, if you're running a shield-based deck, a helix-based deck, or the mighty Chaos Titan Ilias, Consort is really, really good, and I highly recommend it in those scenarios. Though there isn't really a fantastic double shield Chaos Bakugan right now, since Chaos Serpentine falls kind of short. But for the future. Reflection Rays, this is the Mono Chaos card. 1 cost, you get +1 Frost Strike for each Chaos Bakugan on your team. Frost Strike is not a fantastic mechanic because it just gets naturally countered by the best flips. So, gonna be a pass on that. Wayne is an alternative lower cost Evil killer. 2 cost, destroy an Evil that was played on a previous turn. I typically don't have space for this. I typically don't bother with this because, like, by the time in the game where it's really going to matter, we have access to Wax, and being able to take out an Evo, the turn it comes down, is much, much more important because the big Evos are coming out pretty late in the game anyways. Like stuff like Chaos Titan Ilias and Titan Drago, they're coming out late in the game, and those are the ones that you want to be dealing with. And you won't be dealing with them right away, not a turn after, when they're already closed up. Wing Cutter, not fantastic. This is a 6 cost that only gives you plus 600B normally. It has the domination effect to bounce itself to hand. Not great. 6 cost is way too much. Yeah, gonna be a hard pass on that. For 6, I could be getting off Wax. Similarly, for Beaming Blaster, it's 6 for a normal plus 6 damage, and to give you the expected value of plus 12 damage, you have to be in Domination, but it's a 6 cost. For 2 costs lower, you could be playing Molten Helix, which gives you plus 2 damage and Double Strike, and I don't even think that card is worth. Blinding Glam, 3 costs, minus 3 damage to an enemy Bakugan, or plus 3 damage to one of your Bakugan. Too much for, that's too little for a 3 cost. At 2 cost, maybe, but it's also solely damage based, and like, you can be getting the best part of this card, which is the minus 3 damage, from a 0 cost Ventus card, or a 1 cost Darkus card. They're just much better alternatives to this. Bone Defense, 3 cost plus 700B. If you have space in your deck, this is something that you might want to consider because it is above expected value for 3 cost, literally all the time. But Chaos has such good B power boosting anyways, and between mixing factions, you typically won't have the space for this. Cycling Light is really nice because it's a 1 cost, gives the expected value of plus 200B, and then puts itself back on the bottom of your deck. Just generally nice card to bolster your amount of 1 costs if you're running like Chaos Pyrus or Chaos Darkus, then this gives you additional 1 costs for you to throw in. 1 costs that boost B power to help you win early battles. Dream Illusion, similar to Bone Defense, but even worse. This is 5 cost plus 1100B. Technically above the expected value for a 5 cost, but a 5 cost is too much. Fragile to Light, so this is 2 cost, minus 5 damage to a non-Chaos Bakugan. Not bad, but it just doesn't really match up to the options of 0 cost, minus 3 damage, 1 cost, minus 4 damage, or 2 cost and discard a card, minus 10 damage. If you're not running either of those factions and you want some damage reduction, then this is fine, but generally I wouldn't bother with this. Heroic Strength, 5 cost plus 9 damage. It's a high cost damage boosting card that gives below expected value. Light Break, this is a card to keep your eye on if Mono Chaos ever gets some good tools. They're going to have enough high B power Bakugan once BR drops, because Wave 3 gives us Chaos Gorthion with Magic Shield and Chaos Mansonoid Ultra with Magic Shield. And both of them have 500 or more B power. They both have very good stats. So Mono Chaos Titanilius deck could be a thing in the future if we get more things that encourage playing Mono Chaos. And this card is pretty good for such a deck because it's 2 cost, and in Mono Chaos it's always going to be plus 600B, which is quite a bit above expected value, and always goes off. Doesn't need Domination. Speaking of Domination, we have Light's Courage. 2 cost plus 400B, so it's always giving you the expected value of 2 energy for plus 400B, and then if you're in Domination, you double that to plus 800B. This card is extremely powerful. Next to, I would put this next to Wax as, like, this is the second strongest card in Chaos's arsenal. Very, very good. Numinous Armor, 4 cost plus 900B to a Chaos Bakon. This is another thing to keep in mind for Mono Chaos, but like 4 cost is a bit much and it barely gives you above expected value. 5 cost Pandox Punch, plus 4 damage and draw a card. Too expensive. We have stuff like Sky's Hymn that gives us a cantrip, like much better. Cute Apocalypse for a lower cost gives us a more desirable stat and 3 cards. So in general, don't bother with this one. Shine is 3 cost plus 5 damage. Again, below expected value. Hail tends to have below expected value when it comes to damage. Stoic Shot, 2 cost, draw a card. Domination, if your Bakon hold the most Bakon cores, draw 2 cards instead. This is something that's decent for budget decks that need some extra draw power, but there's generally a lot better options when it comes to optimized decks, like Cute Apocalypse, Sky's Hymn, Strata, Hyper Fangs, or tons of stuff. Super Shot, 1 cost plus 200B, again, above the expected value for the energy cost. Very good card. This is basically staple. If you're running Chaos, you're probably running Super Shot at 3. Surge of Light, 2 cost plus 4 damage. Nothing special here. It's a damage booster that we don't really want. Thunder Sword, this is 2 cost for plus 2 Frost Strike. Frost Strike is not very good, so not very worth. Whiteout, this is another thing to keep in mind for Mono Chaos. It's 0 cost and plus 3 damage to a Chaos Bakugan. So this is better than Shade Blade in the context of Mono Chaos. So it's nice to keep in mind, I guess. Moving on to flips, we're just going to go over the special ones. We have Luck Aura at 4 cost, lets you play a card from hand for free. This is IT. Nothing, like, this would be a cool card as like an action or a hero or something, but we can't plan around this card because it's a flip and it's so high cost. So hard pass on that. Stand Together is the good flip of Chaos. 4 cost normally, but if you're in Domination, it's free and it stops non-Chaos. This is probably the weakest of the good keyword flips because Domination is a keyword that's active when you're winning, but nonetheless, it's good. Heroic Inspiration is 2 cost, draw a card for each hero you have in play. You have stuff like Cute Apocalypse. This really isn't worth running if you wanted a flip that draws cards. Fading Dash is much better and much more consistent. Light as a Feather, 3 costs, put this into your hand and draw a card. Again, if you want to draw a flip, Fading Dash is much better. The 1 attribute stops are for Darkus, Aquos, and Chaos. The Outsiders is of course 3 costs, it stops on Chaos, and the 1 cost stop flip stops Darkus and Aquos. Chaos Ascendancy is 5 costs, stops a non-Chaos, and then it puts itself into hand, just a dead draw. Not worth running over Stand Together and stuff like that. Razor Wings, 1 cost, put it into your hand. Again, pretty do nothing. Accelerate completely outclasses this. And Accelerate isn't that fantastic to begin with. And lastly, we have hero cards. So first we have the Bakugan Elite hero card for Chaos. Leah Venegas. This card is not very good. It's 10 cost. When you play this, you search your deck for a hero and reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. Obviously can't use it immediately, which really sucks, and it's 10 cost, and it doesn't really do anything to help you win the battle because its only other effect is plus 10 damage to your attacks if you control 5 or more hero cards in play. Yeah. I think this card should have been like a 2 or 3 cost that searches a hero, and then it gives you plus 1 damage to your attacks for every other hero you have in play. I think that would have been a much better card, actually worth being a Bakugan Elite. And we've given some consistency to hero-based decks, which is what a bunch of Chaos stuff is themed around. So it's really weird that Chaos has garbage flips. I mean, garbage heroes. Garbage heroes is what I meant to say. Speaking of, Philomena Dusk, this is a strictly worse version of Everett Ray. It's 6 cost, just like Everett Ray, and if you're in Domination, it reduces its cost to 3. Has the same effect as Everett Ray, which can become free. Yeah, not very good. Colonel Armstrong Trip is a much less consistent version of Strata that doesn't give your opponent draws, but requires you to win every battle. Also, it costs 1 more, so you know. Not fantastic. It is better than Strata in some scenarios, but not often. D is 4 cost to give your Bakon +1 Frost Strike. Not very good. And Veronica Venegas is basically worse Masato Kazami. It's 3 cost compared to Masato's 1 cost. And only if you're... well, Masato requires you to be in flow, basically. But if you're in Domination, your Bakon get +3 damage to your attacks. Again, this is basically outclassed by the Aquos equivalent. So yeah, that's basically the problem with the Chaos Heroes. They are basically just all outclassed by Aquos equivalents. Except for the awful 10 cost and the Frost Strike one. Though Aquos does have a Frost Strike one, but it only works on Aquos Bakon. But that's it. That's all the Chaos things. Hope you enjoyed this. As I said, throughout the rest of this week, we're going to be talking about the Pyrus and Ventus ability cards. So stay tuned for that. And this is Hunter Surge signing off.